In the 4 years from 2020 to 2024, the SEC has been through some of the biggest changes ever. This year, 2025, has been no different. So, let's talk about this. The XRP case is the first important thing we need to talk about. All of you are welcome to the group. My name is Nick. If you're new to the channel, I hope you become a subscriber by the end of this film. It was just announced that Paul Atkins will be the next chair of the SEC Commission. It seems like a lot of big CEOs in the space, like Brad Garlinghouse from Ripple, have been very positive about Paul Atkins. I think this is something we should really pay attention to. Okay, now, is it going over the same old ground as when Gary Gensler was being elected? Kind of, because if you remember, everyone thought Gary Gensler would be the hero and save crypto from people like Jay Clayton and Bill Hinman at that time. We already know how that turned out though. But I think this is a little different because we now have a professional crypto manager as well. It's also important to remember that Trump was very negative about crypto during his first term. He said that crypto doesn't matter because the US dollar is the only real money out there. His whole story has changed. It is now pro-crypto and pro-innovation. We need to back up digital things to keep the US dollar as a reserve currency. We need to use stablecoins. So the setting is now very different. I also believe Paul Atkins will accomplish a great deal at the SEC, and I think there will be some pretty big changes brought about not only in the XRP case but also in general frameworks for backing crypto in the US and around the world. It makes me think that this will speed up the process of regulating crypto in the US as well, which will set the standard for regulating crypto around the world. We also got a little bit of news about other things. This is from crypto in the United States. Gary did set a pretty low bar. This is the GOP party whip, telling us that he thinks the new SEC chair Paul Atkins will do a better job than the last chair. Gary Gensler, look it over. We forgot to include Paul Atkins on the list. He is going to be the next head of the SEC. It's going to be great. Congressman Emma, yes. Because of this, you spoke out a lot at the House Banking Services meetings about how the SEC and Gary Gensler have been overseen over the last 4 years. I'll never forget those. And if Paul Atkins gets his vote through the Senate, he will take over for Gary Gensler. You said he would be great. Could you explain more? In other words, will Paul be everything that Gary wasn't? Not a very high bar. I was about to say that Gary set a pretty low bar. Really think about this. We need coins that are stable. We need order in the market. There needs to be clarity and trust in the system. So buyers and business owners can try new things and take risks. Also, what did Gary Gensler do? All of that was over. People heard him say, "My door is open. Bring any thoughts you have. We'd love to talk about it with you." So if you were stupid enough to do that, he would either sue you or send you a letter saying that you were being looked into. One really interesting thing is that I think I listened to this whole thing yesterday. I'm not a big fan of meme coins, so I'm not here to support them in any way. But I heard a lot of complaints about meme coins yesterday at the meeting. People said that meme coins were being used to trick people and make money. You know that Gary Gensler suggested that we could use meme coins for this. He was the one who made it possible for meme coins to exist the way they do now. He was the one who fixed it. I agree with you if you don't like it. Let's stop whining about it and figure out how to stop it. So yeah, listen, with a new SEC chair, we'll probably soon start the regulatory season for crypto. I also believe that usefulness is becoming more and more important in this case. I think we're moving away from the idea that crypto was just a hyped up speculative market. I'm actually really excited about this, especially since there are a lot of changes going on with stablecoin projects that use crypto for payments. I think that everything about crypto is going to change for the better, which is good for projects like XRP, HBR, XLM and QNC. Also, I think this is great to see. Also, there was a big change this morning. The Attorney General of New York State sent a letter to the leaders of Congress asking them to pass a federal governing framework for digital assets to stop fraud, crime, and financial instability. She specifically says that the widespread use of Bitcoin poses a threat to the dominance of the dollar and urges the creation of stable coins to safeguard that dominance. James also doesn't think digital assets should be allowed in retirement accounts. We can actually see that these are very real risks, so we're asking Congress to include the following common sense ideas in digital asset laws. Onshore and stable coins protect the US dollar and the Treasuries market, which is great for RUSD. Platforms must only do business with anti-money laundering compliant platforms, and issuers and intermediaries must be registered to make sure accountability, transparency, and basic protections for the public. Preventing conflicts of interest, encouraging price transparency, making platforms and middlemen actively seek out and stop fraud and scams, and not letting digital assets be used in retirement funds. It's really cool. Listen up. I have something to say. 1. I think it's a bad idea to keep digital assets out of retirement funds. 2. I think this is very interesting. I really believe that we should start to allow people to hold any kind of digital assets in their retirement funds. I believe that putting off many of these utility jobs for a long time will be very good for your finances. There are a lot of pros and cons to this kind of law that is being pushed right now. I believe that if we really want to get this right, we should include CEOs, builders, engineers, and other important people in the space industry. Such as, I don't believe that a lot of the things we're seeing being pushed around in bills are very bullish. As I said, there are many pros and cons. We'll have to wait and see what happens with this, but it's clear that the government is stepping up its efforts to regulate US cryptocurrency. They want to back US crypto, which means stable coins that are backed by the dollar, and crypto projects based in the US. Again, I strongly back many of the utility projects I talk about. For example, Hedera is an American-based project. Stellar, a US-based project, works with Ripple and XRP as well. Actually, this is very bullish, but not in the case of Ripple. This is because, as we said before, everything here is about laws and rules. Now we're going to look at the Ripple case, and we just saw a post from Uphold. In other words, both Ripple and the SEC have asked for the appeal to be put on hold, which means that talks about a solution are underway. The committee has not yet given its final approval. From what Mr. Zoom told us, both Ripple and the SEC have asked for the case to be put on hold. The deal has to be approved by the Commission first. On top of that, Fred Rispoli just recently wrote on the SEC versus Ripple case that something should happen by next Wednesday, the 16th, which is the due date for Ripple's appellate brief. Ripple can't get an extension and either has to file it 10% late, or there will be a notice of settlement and withdrawal, which is 90% late. Still, we don't know what will happen, but this is a very interesting news about pausing the case, which kind of hints that a settlement is being worked on. Also, Chad Steingruber recently wrote that Mr. Lynch just said in the meeting that the SEC case against Ripple has been dropped to make room for new ideas to grow. And this is a real post from NashX. The film clip was posted. Look it over. Also, it's